This is interesting. It's actually super hard to teach in survival mode. It's hard to retain because we're looking at I don't have the abundance that I need to be okay. I think that's where your expertise supersedes mine. Is like, okay, first things first, let's just acknowledge things are bumpy right now, right? Give yourself permission. And I think there's different levels of stability, because if you can have a real tough thing happen, a death of a family member, a loss of a job, maybe you're half a step away from losing your home, and then you can reset and say, wait a minute, I've got shelter with a family member. What's that next step? I've got shelter with a friend. I have 60 days to ask questions because I don't know what foreclosure means. This would be the hard landings where someone needs a soft landing and say, wait a minute, you're not in survival mode. You're still ready, brace yourself, probably one of the most wealthy people statistically across the entire globe. Yeah. But your expectations, this is today's luxury, which luxury, having a condo, having a house, becomes tomorrow's necessity. And we start to frame our stability and our success in our lives based on what we've grown accustomed to, not what we really need. And as soon as you can acknowledge that the platform for survival is way lower than where you think you are, now we can learn and grow.
What's funny is you caught on to the survival. What I heard him say too was acknowledgement, which we always say, like, we can't change what we don't acknowledge, right? Yep. And saying that you have to acknowledge that piece is huge, because that helping, I know in my head, like, connect the dots of, if you have to acknowledge the space that you're in, you have to acknowledge how you got there, and also, what abilities or capabilities you have to grow and move forward in that. And I know that's one thing that you do when you help businesses, because I know when I first met you, I didn't even know I needed someone like you. I was just like, going along, chugging along, 4 years in, and your son approached me and told me kind of what you do. And I went and met with him and all the things I never thought about being a business owner, right? You just don't think. And then you help me, look at things a little bit differently. And I think that's what a lot of us need. I mean, even in different spaces. So, like, although my take is from like a business owner and therapist, like you said before, like people going through a divorce, that's huge too, because my gosh, we help people all the time with going through divorce. And I know finances is one of the biggest things, that and custody of children. Those are probably the two hot topics. So finances, what would you say is one of the biggest factors of someone struggling, like, or mistakes that they make going through or stepping into the beginning of a divorce?
Well, it's interesting. So early on in my career, it was like, as soon as I met somebody, it's just an opportunity to do business. We're going to open some accounts. We're going to do some commissionable transactions. And when someone came to us who had encountered that the relationship wasn't working, everything in there, they were evaluate, identify the situation, start to learn, and kind of reset. What are my expectations? Where am I going to live? What's going to happen with the kids? They don't know what they don't know, right? And then they're saying, great, and I also need to understand the finances. And here's the thing. The first thing that needs to happen is they need to recognize that financially, you just have to stop. Buy the groceries you normally bought. Make the car payments you normally pay for. If you're saving and investing in your retirement account, perhaps continue to do that through work. Set aside cash for emergencies. If it's an amicable situation, even though there's a relational strain that's not as what it used to be, then it's a little easier to do that. Sometimes with divorce, there's erratic behavior. Sometimes erratic financial behavior causes divorce. Mm-hmm. Like he just keeps coming home with new cars, or she just, is out doing shopping or spending sprees, or vice versa, whatever it is, or you're going to renovate, but you never talk to me about it, right? So not being equally yoked with the finances. So by the time someone who's going through divorce is referred to me, it's not a time for financial change. It's not a time for financial learning, except for this is probably what is going to happen. Okay. The court is going to say, okay, great. You're going to get divorced. You're going to have to do a childcare, agreement, right? There's going to have to be all the assets essentially get frozen from any major decisions beyond a certain point. I'm not an attorney, but this is what we see and what we understand to have happened. I've been in the middle of helping these things before. And then depending on how long people have been married, couples have been married, and, what's the disposition and who owns what, it's going to be kind of a halfsies thing that's probably going to happen. Maybe some income's going to shift back and forth, but that's all got to get figured out. So the first thing is recognizing that they're coming from a place of emotions, and that's probably the driving force there. Mm-hmm. Everything else that has to do with finances is almost like, let's maintain the status quo. We're not going to be able to impact change without me going into too much detail on the divorce and finances. You're not going to be able to go into too much detail on the finances beyond, let's not give it all to legal advisors if we don't have to. Let's find someone who's more resolution oriented and less, hey, let's fight while we figure this out. I know it's going to cost you a little, but we're going to go and get that. We're going to go get that. And she's going to try to go get that. And so both your money is gone.